What's up YouTube, Dr. Sandy Baird here. Today we're going to be talking about macros. We're going to be talking about why you want to track your macros, how you track your macros, and what to do with that information. So stay tuned. So the first thing you want to do in terms of tracking your macros or determining your macros is to figure out your BMR. So that's your basal metabolic rate. That is the number of calories you would burn if you did nothing other than wake up, sit down, lie down, watch TV, go to the bathroom, right? Just the bare minimum, and you would never want to go lower than these calories. An easy way to find this is to go to the Tdee calculator.net, and I'll put that up in the description link so that you have a link to that. This is like the easy way to set your macros, but I think it's actually better to understand how you set them, so I'm going to run through the whole calculation. But if you just want to kind of skip all the rest of the steps and just get a basic idea of what they are, you can go right to that website, use the calculator, and everything's all laid out for you. And then after you've figured out your basal metabolic rate, you're going to want to figure out what's called your TDEE. And so that is your total daily energy expenditure. So this is things like your basic rate, your basal metabolic rate, plus whatever you're doing during the day. So this is plus your workouts, plus your job if you have a physical job, etc. So once we've determined the total calories that your body needs to maintain the energy expenditure that you're going to be going through on a daily basis, you want to look at your goals. So if you just want to maintain, that's one situation. If you want to lose weight, that's another situation. If you want to gain muscle, that's another situation. So we would call losing weight, you need to be eating in what's called a deficit, right? So you're eating fewer calories than your body is burning. And if you want to go the opposite way, and if you want to build muscle, you want to eat at a surplus. So you would be eating more calories than your body would naturally be burning. And if you eat the same calories as what your body is burning, you're kind of at a maintenance level. So by the way, with the deficit and the surplus, you have a little bit of leeway and a little bit of wiggle room here in terms of how aggressive you're going to do a cut or how gentle you're going to do a cut. And when I say cut, I just mean eating at a deficit. And then the same thing, you have the option to bulk a little bit slowly, or you can do like a more serious bulk and have a higher surplus. So once we've set the total amount of calories, we have to realize that not all calories are created equal. We have proteins, we have fats, and we have carbohydrates. So these are your macronutrients. This differs from micronutrients. Micronutrients are all the minerals and vitamins that you need to also make sure you get in your diet. But today we're just talking about the macros. So before I talk about how we're actually going to determine how much protein, how much fat, and how much carb we're going to be eating, I want to run through an example with you so that you can see what this might look like. So let's take somebody who is a 40-year-old female. They have an active job. They're about 5'4", 160. They're going to exercise 3 to 5 times a week. So if you run the calculation from tdeecalculator.net, you're going to see that the maintenance calories, so the number of calories that person would need to eat per day to maintain their current physique, would be 2,274 calories a day. If this person wanted to do a gentle cut and start to lose weight and get a little bit more lean, we would be looking at 2,024 calories a day. If they wanted to do a more aggressive cut, it's 1,774 calories. So that kind of sets, just to show you an example, but we'll move on from here. So in determining your macros, protein is king, right? So we got to set the protein first. There's a reason that in gym culture, people are always talking about protein. It's super important. It spares your muscle. When you are losing weight, if you're not eating enough protein, you're just going to lose muscle. So it's really important to get this number right. So here's how you do it. So to set your protein number, you have to look at your goals, right? So are you trying to cut, or are you trying to bulk, or are you trying to just maintain where you are? If you're trying to maintain where you are, you want to do 0.8 grams protein per pound of body weight. If you want to cut or if you want to bulk, then it's going to be 1 gram. And again, that's to spare the muscle as the body is changing size. Let's take an example here. So for a gentle cut, we're not trying to do anything too aggressive. If the person is 160 pounds, you'd multiply that by 1, and so you get 160 grams of protein. Now on the board that you're going to see in a little bit, you'll see that the different macronutrients have different energy kind of quantities. So protein has 4 calories per gram. So does carb, and fat has 9 calories per gram. Now let's look at the example there. So we had 160 grams of protein, so you're going to multiply that by 4 because there's 4 calories per gram, and so you have 640 calories of protein. So we kind of set that number aside, and we know that's how much protein we're going to eat. So for this situation, it would be 160 grams protein, which is equivalent to 640 of your calories. All right, the next thing that we're going to look at is the fat. So you want to have about 25 to 45% of your calories coming from fat. So looking at this example, if we have 2,024 calories, which is what we were doing for the gentle cut, remember, if we pick 25% of that, it's going to work out to 504 calories of fat. You're going to divide that by 9, because remember with fat, there's 9 calories per gram with that. You're going to come up with 56.2 grams of fat. If we run the number for the 45%, this is just to kind of give us a range, we're going to come up with 101.2 grams of fat. So we're going to pick a number somewhere in that range, and let's just say 80 grams, kind of somewhere in the middle. And then if you convert that back to calories, you're going to multiply it by 9, so you've got 720 calories of fat. So again, we put that number to the side, we know our grams of fat, we know what that looks like in calories. Let's move on to the carbs. So everything else in our calorie budget goes to carbs. So let's take a closer look at that. So remember, in our example, the total calories were at 2,024, and we already know that we want to have 640 calories from protein and 720 calories from fat. So if you're going to do the little equation here and just subtract that all out, you come up with 664 calories. So carbs, remember, have 4 calories per gram. So you're going to do 664 divided by 4. You've got 166 grams of carbs. So then you kind of look at your macros all in one piece. So you've got the 160 grams protein, the 80 grams fat, and the 166 grams carbs. Now, this is just kind of a starting point, okay? So there's not really a right answer with this. You could go a little bit higher or a little bit lower with your fat. I would say definitely don't go too low, especially if you're female, because our hormones work a little bit differently than male hormones. And you want to just make sure that you're maintaining a normal hormone balance for your body and getting enough fat. But this is your starting point. So you do this, you track this for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you make adjustments as necessary. And then the last thing to look at is how many meals are you going to eat a day? So the traditional model would be that you're eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That doesn't work for a lot of people. For some people it works great, but some people feel much better if they eat more often. So it's pretty common in the fitness world to see the meals broken down into like 4 meals, 5 meals, sometimes even 6 meals a day. I know not everybody has a job where they can stop and eat 6 times a day, but you really need to find what works for you. So if you're going to eat 4 meals a day, then you just take your total macros, you divide by 4, and that gives you what you're trying to aim for each time you have a meal prep situation. Each of those meals should hit those macros. And if you know that you'll always eat the same breakfast in the morning, I know I do, you can just put that in your tracker. You can use MyFitnessPal, you can use Get My Macros, but you put that in first, and then you find out how many calories and grams of your macros you have left, and then you just divide that by how many other meals you're going to eat throughout the day. So that's your starting point. If you have any questions or anything that comes up while you're calculating this and you just want to know a little bit more information, please leave your question in the comments section and I'll try to get to those. Please subscribe if you'd like more content like this. Give the video a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.